Hello, everyone, and welcome back. Today, we are looking at the GI Joe Dino Hunter Mission playset. So, the Dino Hunter Mission playset was first released in the United States as a Toys R Us exclusive back in 1993, and then unfortunately, it was discontinued in 1994. It did have Ambush as a version 2 and Lowlight as a version 4 action figure to come with the set. Now, this is an all terrain dinosaur reconnaissance vehicle. In a lot of regards, in my mind, I'm really looking at it as a six-wheeled version of the Awe Striker or so. Um, kind of going from there as we get to see the version 2 of Ambush here and version 4 of Lowlight, giving him a lot more I'll say like a civilian ish or more of a high vis view of his uniform. Okay, getting into all the looks of the vehicle that we have here on yojo.com. Nice side view. We do have two grappling hooks as well as two sonic missiles on here. And we have enough room for four Joes plus uh, a crew of two, a driver and a gunner, so that gives us a little bit of room and a little bit of flexibility here, as well as giving us a dinosaur. As we get on to the back side here, I kind of read through this, so I'll just kind of give the gist of it, mainly because it is a little on the lighter side or smaller side on my screen to be able to read it. So essentially, with Cobra doing all of the different kind of science experiments and everything else on Cobra Island, they have uncovered dinosaurs on Cobra Island, which has started to infest Cobra Island, and they're starting to try and ship them onto the mainland so that way they can hopefully cause enough chaos in major cities and then proceed in their typical tactics of trying to take over the world. So here we have the G.I. Joe Dino Hunter to try and help corral the dinosaurs. Sonic missiles, I have it as a non lethal damage missile trying to subdue the dinosaurs, hopefully knocking them out so they can capture them and figure out what else to do with them instead of killing them on the streets of whatever major metropolitan area that is that they run across them in. So it's an interesting take. At the time that they were doing this, Jurassic Park had just come out. If I remember hearing or reading about this correctly, this is when Hasbro had just purchased Kenner, and Kenner was doing some of the stuff for Jurassic Park as a toy line. So this was a stopgap to bring GI Joe into the fanfare of the Jurassic Park world, trying to capitalize on that. Which, as a toy company, you have to do what you have to do. All right, there are no other variations of the Dino Hunter known to exist from Yojo.com. We do have the Desert Fox, which is a six-wheel drive, and actually, that's the same vehicle. It is really the same vehicle. So whenever we get to that, we will probably be doing the same there. And, oh, that's from 1988. So essentially, I could have just ported over the stats from the 1988 Desert Fox, 93 Dino Hunter. That's this here. Um, so really, it just kind of comes down to that. I was really just looking at it as just taking the Mud Buster that we had just done, um, and just reworking the weapon systems. Uh, Being at this range, and it's a or a four-wheel drive, or actually possibly even as a six-wheel drive vehicle. So just leaving it at that. So with that, let's get into the stats that we have here today. And if it does differ from our our Desert Fox or whatever, just take it for what it is as an upgraded version of it. Like I said, I just kind of more or less copy and pasted from our Mudbuster that we had just had. So let's see how we have or what we have and how it differs here. All right, so looking at the stats here. Now, I did actually go back and I got the Desert Fox and I redid it for the Dino Hunter. So everything is the same except for just the weapons that we're using on this version of it. So I did change the crew. So we are starting off. It's a Dino Hunter six-wheel drive. So instead of saying the Desert Fox, this is now the Dino Hunter. Speeder scale 28 feet long, same as what we had for the Desert Fox. I changed the crew from three to two and passengers up to four. So that's changed a little bit. Cargo capacity is still our 80 kilograms, full coverage, ground altitude. Maneuverability is going to be our 2D. Move speed is 95 miles an hour, and body strength is 3D. Now, this is where things change here. We have two grappler missiles instead of having the blaster cannon on there. And this is a 3D plus a grapple line. Uh, it's not really meant to damage, it's just meant to try and corral them up. So I didn't want to do a lot of damage. I just left the same grapple missile damage that we've seen before from some of the other vehicles in this series for that very reason. Now, it does list it as two sonic missiles, so that's what we have put in here. Really changing the damage a little bit. Instead of just doing a normal 7D damage, this is for incapacitation. It's a non lethal damage, so that way we can knock out the dinosaurs, we can grapple them up, haul them out of there, and then go from that point. Uh, and like I said, this was done because they had just acquired Kenner, which was working on doing some Jurassic Park toys and bringing GI Joe into that fold to kind of capitalize off of that momentum, which is fine. And like I said before, you know, you're trying to stay relevant and everything else, and it does bring that stuff in. As you know, regrettably for GI Joe, the we have parents unions or groups or whatever that are not the happiest because their kids are playing with army guys and stuff like that, and I I don't know. It's just kind of sad because we look at all the things that are on TV today, which is as bad, if not worse, because we're actively showing people, doing murder series and, you know, more war movies and shows on TV today than what we were allowed to back then. And it doesn't seem like there's as much of a fallout from it anymore. So it is what it just is, unfortunately. With that being said, thanks for stopping by. Thanks for visiting. I know that we haven't gotten as many views on these lately because I think, much like myself, a lot of people that were really interested in the Joes are interested more in the core vehicles that really created the line. But we're going to keep going through because there are some great vehicles coming up. This one being a GI Joe Toys R Us exclusive. I don't know how many people even knew this was out there. So along the way, we're going to hit vehicles that maybe many of us didn't even realize were out there, or just we weren't in on the series as much because unfortunately we're getting older and we're starting to deal with other things in our lives. But it's still fun and interesting nonetheless. With that being said, thank you so very much for joining me today. It's wonderful having you here. I hope you're doing well, and I will see you in the next video.